Well, I think I'm on live now. It's tough to see on the computer what's going on. But anyway, good evening to everyone who is watching and listening. And thanks for being here. My name is Buzz Noe, and this is our spiritual uplift, our Thursday midweek uplift for our Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley. And again, my name is Buzz Noe, and I'm happy to be here. And tonight, I'm going to address two things that are coming up this weekend, which of course, we now have a national holiday we call Juneteenth, which was just signed today by President Biden and put into national law as a national holiday, an official national holiday in this country. Now, Juneteenth is a celebration of the final legal creation of equality in this nation of the US. And that's why we should celebrate it here, because as we all know, this country was founded way back in the 1700s as a nation of equality. And yet, for the next 100 years or so, there was an aspect of this country that they called slavery. And they took people from Africa and put them into a situation here in the US as slaves, having to work for landowners, mostly in the South, but all over the place. And this went against all the aspects that the country was founded on. But there was the human situation back then where certain point not equal to the white race for whatever reasons they had back then, and so were put into slavery. Now, in the Civil War, which came about as the Confederate States seceded from the Union because they did not want to go along with the idea that everyone was equal, and the Emancipation Proclamation that was put into place by President Lincoln at the time, which said that slavery was now illegal in the country, was not going to be followed by the southern states who seceded from the Union and created what was the Civil War in a physically a fight, a war against that idea. And eventually in 1865, the Union did succeed in stopping the rebellion and making all of the states come back together with the Emancipation Proclamation in place. But it was thus freeing all of the slaves in Texas. And that was the celebration of June 19th, which came to be known as Juneteenth later. It was also known by others as Liberation Day, Jubilation Day, Emancipation Day. All of those terms came out, and it certainly has been celebrated by the Black community over the years since then as the date that they officially became in this nation equal. Now, of course, our teaching is always looked at, the science of mind, as everything being equal. We're all created from the oneness of God and thereby equal to each other and everything else that is part of God's creation. But in this country, for many years, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was now in place and Juneteenth was official and legally, operationally in the country, everyone was of equal status, there was still a mindset going on for many, many years. There was about the inequality because of racial differences or background differences or some aspect that these people had that was different from these others. So therefore, there was this establishment of an inequality, a racial inequality that went on for years. Now, way back in the 1950s, this will come as a shock, but I was actually a youngster then, a young boy growing up in Pennsylvania, where my dad was a developer, a contractor for residential housing. And he moved to Buck County, Pennsylvania, where he created a housing development there called Holland Farms. And when I was back then just 12, 13 years old, his right hand man for the business that was the Holland Development Company was a black gentleman named Al Morgan. And so my first experience with someone of a different race was Al Morgan. And he get things done, was always there, always helpful, always nice, and respect for a black gentleman. And then later on, a few years later, went to school and started reading the newspaper and discovered that this idea of racial inequality, which was going on mostly in the South at that time, about how people did not see this other race as being equal to themselves. And it made no sense to me. How could a nice and intelligent and helpful a person as Al Morgan not be considered equal to someone else? It was totally, like I said, a shock in growing up that this was in place. And subsequent to that, as I grew up and went through high school and college, it was really wonderful to see how the nation evolved through the 50s, certainly the 60s, into the 70s, accepting that equality of everyone, despite any kind of racial aspect of nature and this country, that equality is part of who we are. And when I got into the teaching that is, of course, science of mind, and it addressed everything as being equal in the oneness of God, because everything we look at is part of the single infinitive creative nature that we look at as being God. And so it was all brought here for the purpose of continuing life, evolving life in every direction. Now, we oftentimes sit back as humans and kind of look like, hey, we're in charge of this, we're the smartest, we're the brightest, we're the greatest. But you have to understand, in the infinite nature that we see as God representing, there's no difference in what aspects are involved. There's an equal equality to all. This tiny little flea that's on your finger is just as important an aspect what we call forest fires break out. And we always look at from the human's perspective of, oh, wow, why are these fires coming here and hurting us? Why are they taking away our community, making us leave, hurting us, killing us in some cases? And it always occurred to me, especially after coming into the teaching that is Science of Mind, that yes, these fires that we're looking at may be working against us as humans. But if you look at the overall picture of what these fires are doing, they are actually rebirthing a lot of aspects of nature. Sometimes a forest needs to have a fire go through it in order to have a complete rebirth of the trees, of the plants. And if you look at God in the oneness of God as taking equal care of those plants and those trees as he is generic, a gender definition, but God is taking just as much care of these plants. Sometimes our human's nature, our human situation capacity. And it got me to that point where we talk about in the teaching very, very much that life is going on. It's happening right now. It is. Look around you. It's life. It's happening right now. And what is happening right now in life is an absolute. There's no way to change where the sun is right now for you to change that. You can change the lighting in your house, but you're not going to change the aspects of nature that are going on out there. And in order, this is really a lesson that I keep to myself, and I try to point out to a lot of other people at all the times. If you look at right now as being an absolute, and of course it is, then that means that everything that happened in the evolution of the entire universe throughout the millions and millions and millions and millions of years of evolution that has gone through had to happen exactly the way it happened for life to be exactly the way it is now. Because I've looked at this yourself. But if you look at how some small change in what happens right now can later result in a bigger change somewhere else, you turn the wrong way, you end up over here and over there, something happens. Every single aspect of life that's going on, any change in that will create an alteration in where life is going to go. So that means that any small change in any aspect of the evolution of time and space over the years would make life different than it is right now. So if you accept that life is the way it needs to be, the way it should be right now, it allows you to more readily see how this is a blessing brought to you, a blessing upon you, a blessing of life that has got you here, that's taking you forward into the next step of your life and of the change and the alteration in the universe. I've done this and done that. And you have to remember that you go, if I like to assess things with absolute. The absolute is there is no way for life to be the way it is right now if any change had happened anywhere, anytime in the past other than what did occur. So, since everything happened the way it happened in order to have life be the way it is now, then we have to accept it as being the blessing that brought us here. And an important aspect of that is look to life that you're in now as a blessing, not a curse. Since you meant to be here by God and by the evolution of nature itself, since it was all created for you to be here right now, let's look for how this is a good place to be. And I do that by going into nature a lot, go out there into the trees. I love to jog on the beach because it puts me into that nature situation and more readily recognize that, hey, this is a blessing that is here because of everything that happened in my life. The only way I'm here jogging on this beach on this sunny day right now is to have done everything the way I did it all through my life in every aspect. That it's taking you where you are meant you to be, and the blessing will continue to be there as we see it, acknowledge it, and accept it in our lives. So that's it for my comments on Juneteenth, which is coming up now, a national celebration of the equality of all citizens in this country. And if you take it from the perspective of the science of mind, the equality of all citizens on this planet, all humans everywhere, and our human equality with the rest of life. It's all there. And if you allow it to be there for your benefit in a positive mindset, it will take you there. And that's another aspect, because we've done some research, Lynn and I, on this aspect of having a positive mindset. Not only does it allow you to more readily accept where things are right now and the fact that everything had to happen the way it did, but it helps your mind, your mental situation. It improves your immunity situation to have that positive mindset, to have that confidence that life is where it's supposed to be, as opposed to things not the way they should be, because that positive mindset really does help your mental and through that your physical health. So that's why this teaching and what Dr. Ernest Holmes brought to us is so important in our lives. You healthier and a happier person moving forward. So that's it for Juneteenth and the overall equality of life that we're living in. The next celebration, which comes up on Sunday, is Father's Day. And of course, I like to go with the absolutes of life. And regardless of how you feel about your father, some of us may not even know who our father was if we were orphaned at an early age, or they may have transitioned when we were real young, never even got to know them. But the absolute is this: if you are here, if you're watching and listening to this right now, the absolute is you have a father. At some point in life, a father was part of what brought you into birth and into existence. So if nothing else, on Father's Day, we should certainly acknowledge the fact that all of us have a father, and all of those fathers that were in existence brought us here. And that same thing goes for the rest of nature. I mean, I don't know of any parts of nature that, certainly in the living creatures that are on this planet, where there's both a male and a female combination that allows the birth of the youngster. So everyone and everything that lives has a father and a mother. So Father's Day is, if nothing else, simply that acknowledgement of who our fathers were. And it also helps on that day to look at who you are and know that who you are right here and right now is the result of that combination of your in life and who you are, and see what aspects of that you can attribute to your father. My dad transitioned back in the 1990s at age 80 something, and he's no longer with me. But throughout my life, as I did things, as I figured things out, as I was able to better analyze, I saw the input and the influence of my father on me. He taught us, like I said, he was a housing developer growing up. So we learned how to build things, how to use tools, and learned a lot of those, what we call the physical aspects, the analytical aspects of life. I mean, we all have a creative ability in our minds where we come up with stuff and let's do this. But the actual getting things done, fixing a window, moving furniture, putting things together, taking things apart, using tools, this is stuff that is a physical assessment that you have to develop to be able to use a screwdriver and use a hammer and be able to put a nail in up. And I have had them all my life. And anytime I do any kind of work in that aspect with tools to put something together, to make something happen, to repair something, I have to immediately acknowledge my dad and the skills that he taught us and gave us internally to be able to do that. And it really is wonderful to acknowledge that aspect of your life that comes from your father. So it's a good thing to do, to look at who you are, what you do, the way you do things, the way you think of things, and see if where those might have been attributed to the aspects that were your father. Now, last month we celebrated our mothers for the same reason that we're doing this, celebrating our fathers on Sunday. We, all of us, are a result of that combination of those genes and inputs of hormones that created who we are. So having acknowledged all our mothers last month, it's for our fathers. And in doing so, it acknowledges that you are here as a result of your father, and also acknowledges, if you are a father, what you've brought into this universe. And I think about this a lot. I became a father back in 1970 upon the birth of my darling daughter, Janet. And that was 50 years ago, 51 years ago this year. But as I've gone through life, it's been amazing how you always wonder, hey, am I bringing something positive? Am I adding to the evolution of the universe? Am I doing something good? Is this good that I'm doing? Am I bringing this to the thing? Boy, whenever I look at that aspect of my life, the one thing that I can definitely come to the conclusion of is that, having been part of the process that brought my daughter here to this world, was a positive aspect, a positive thing for me to do. If I don't do anything else ever in my life that is good or an advancement for the human condition and the rest of the planet and the universe itself. At least I have brought my daughter here, and she is a blessing. She's intelligent, she's kind, she's wonderful. I see her. I wish I'd done that instead of that. Differently, that would have been perhaps an improvement. But if nothing else, the fact that she is here and the blessing that I see her as bringing to this world, if I can take some of the responsibility for that, wow, I at least got something done in this universe. Or at least was able to bring something from who I am that would advance and enhance the rest of the world and the rest of the universe. And that makes me feel good about my life, because it was my life that brought her life here. So that's kind of my acknowledgement to myself as a father, and an acknowledgement to all the fathers who are equally responsible for bringing us here into this world, into this life. And that's essentially my lesson for today, is that if you're here, be positive about it. Be confident that you're here for a reason. Be confident that your life has evolved the way it has for a particular reason. It's a blessing to you. It's a blessing to all. And continue to move forward with that positive aspect, that positive assessment of where life is and what you're bringing to it. Because just in that, it will help and enhance all that is. And as we say, that's the way it is. So I think I'm going to finish up now with a treatment to close us out and give you all a wonderful evening to have as we go into this weekend of celebration. So please close your eyes, go within, calm yourself down, put your mindset connected to the universal allness that is around us. Know that it's coming from what's within you. As we go within, say these words in the first person, please make them your own. For I do know that right here and right now, in this single moment, in the eternal, infinite evolution, one source to all that is, one infinite creative power that's manifesting everything that exists in the way that it exists in life right now. We call that infinite power God. There is one God, one source, and I am here, created from that source, here as a result of that infinite power. And therefore I am connected with the oneness that is God, connected with the source that brought me here, and by being here, connected with everything and everyone that is from that same source. All that is in life is connected with me right now, and I am connected with it. And I know that through that connection, as I bring forth my thoughts through my consciousness out into this world, it is creating things for me. It is creating life for me. It is creating the life that I choose to lead as I bring that forth in my consciousness, and goes out bringing that same confidence and positive thought and positive mindset to everyone, everywhere with whom I'm connected, which is everything. So I know that I choose in my life to continue that consciousness, to go out motivated primarily by love, love of life, love of all that is in life, and adding to that kindness, compassion, sharing, caring, giving, and generosity and gratitude. These positive expressions of humanity are mine to select and bring forth and put forth. And I choose to do this as I go through life. I thank God for the awareness of this connection, of my ability to create this in my life and for the life of everyone and everything else. And I do release these words into the infinite oneness that is God, knowing that with infinite power, the details are easily manifested, while I continue to go forth seeking everyone and everything with whom I'm connected. And together we can say in unison, and so it is. And so it is that I end my midweek uplift for everyone. Thank you all for being here. Stay positive, stay confident, and know that life is just the way it should be for your benefit. Thank you all. Love to everyone that's out there, and have a wonderful weekend celebration of Juneteenth and Father's Day. And we'll be on Sunday. I'll be on there with Reverend Pam on Sunday talking some more about these aspects of life and how being a father is a contribution to all that is. So look for us at noon on Sunday, and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.